What's up, everyone? All right, well, I don't know what to say. $25,000. It's a big green day. Two big green days in a row. 12,000 yesterday, 25,000 today. MYO. From a low yesterday of about, I don't know, $6 maybe, up to a high today of $40 a share. That type of momentum, we don't see it every day. It's, every couple weeks we'll see a stock do something like that. Sometimes it's more frequent, and sometimes they do get clustered together, probably with the big momentum on Tesla that may have triggered a little FOMO. And right now, to me, it's all about capitalizing on that FOMO and riding these big exaggerated waves of momentum, both up and down if you can. Shares to borrow are difficult for a lot of these stocks, but at least riding that momentum up. And today I did it really well. $16,000 of profit on MYO. And the thing is, we'll talk about this during the recap, I kind of screwed up my first entry. I should have been able to make at least $20,000 on this stock today. And $16,000 is great, but it could have been better. And so I always sort of, tell myself, okay, good job today, but you can do better. And what could you have done better? Because that's how you keep growing as a trader. Of course I could say, hey, I'm going to throw in my towel here. I'm really happy with my profits and everything else. But on the other hand, I think it's a good idea to keep kind of setting the bar a little higher and a little higher. So I hope you guys enjoy this recap. And guess what? Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to host a live workshop. There's going to be a link right down here in the description where you guys can click on it and you can register. And during the workshop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about these trades on MYO. I'm also going to talk about my December small account challenge, where I took $500 and turned it into over $50,000 in 17 days. 17 days. Crazy. All right, so we'll talk about that. And basically, I'm going to break down for you my strategy of how I find these stocks each morning before they make the big move. All right, so make sure you guys register for that workshop tomorrow. I hope you enjoy the recap. As always, questions, comments, leave them below, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. All right, you guys, so we're gonna go over the trades from today. I'm gonna finish the morning here up $25,325.03, which is terrific. This is a nice green day, and after making $12,000 yesterday, it puts me up $37,000 on, $38,000 on the week. I had a $1,000 day on Monday, so $38,000 on the week. That's not bad. Realistically, I've been sort of thinking a lot about what my goals are in terms of weekly goals and monthly goals and stuff like that, and even annual goals. And I'll talk about that a little bit when I do my 2019 year in review. But right now, I think one of the challenges for me is that when I set really high expectations, like, $50,000 a month or something like that, that if I'm up only 25,000 or 30,000 or 40,000, I feel disappointed because I haven't reached the goal that I set for myself. While on the one hand, it's great to set goals for yourself, on the other hand, you don't want to set goals that are so high that you become, in sort of a constant state of pushing yourself and not being satisfied when in fact you're doing quite well. So to be up $38,000 on the month, 3 days in, I've hit my monthly goal. Let's be realistic. That's great. That's a $38,000 month is terrific. So now I'm at a point where it's kind of a question of, do I ease off the throttle a little bit, pull back and just kind of coast through the rest of the month? We're 3 days into the month. So, we still have a full month ahead. Or do I, push the pedal to the metal and lean in a little bit to this hot streak that we're clearly seeing? Today, I told myself, I didn't even think MYO was going to be a continuation setup. I'm up 16,000 on it. And I thought there was nothing left to trade on this one, because when I looked at where it closed, I kind of watched it through the afternoon a little bit, and I saw it closed around $13. So I was like, oh, that's disappointing. It really gave back most of its gains. On the daily chart, it looks like a shooting star candle. So probably not going to be able to trade that. Well, as it turns out, of course, yesterday, just to give you a quick recap of my trades for those that missed yesterday, and I'll pull some of these lines off just to clean up the chart a little bit. All right, there we go. And there we go. There we go. All right, so yesterday, MYO was on watch as a gap and go setup, and the reason it was on watch was because, of course, it was gapping up, had news, and was a recent reverse split. Right out of the gates, it squeezes from 7 to 10. I jumped in as it squeezed up, was holding into the halt. It resumes and surges up to a high of 1480. It then pulls back. I bought this pullback, and it surges up to 1765. It then pulls back again. It breaks out over 1765 up to 1960. Nice, clean bull flag right here, then rips all the way up to 32. Pullback, and then a breakout moving higher, but on lighter volume, which I called out as a divergence there to be mindful of, and it ended up reversing off that level. So hit a high of $35, which was incredible. I mean, I made 12 grand on it, which was good, but at the same time, if I'd held 1,000 shares from $10, I mean, I would have made an extra 20 grand on it, but you just never know what stock is going to do something like this. So anyways, it drops down, and then pre-market, it's already coming back up. Well, it came back up a little bit after hours, and then pre-market, it's surging up again. So this was actually at the top of our gap scanner this morning. It was gapping up 130%, which is awesome. All right, so it's gapping up 130%. Now, right out of the gates, I'm watching it to jump in. And I kind of screwed up my order a little bit. So as soon as the bell was ringing, I was looking at it and I was like, this is a flag. I want to get in for the break over 31.54. All right, so let me pull up my trade on this one real quick. So as you guys may recall, I had an unprecedented red streak in my retirement account from December going into January. It was terrible. And I was really frustrated over it. And so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna disable my main account, which is this Roth CA account, disable it completely. So if I try to trade in this account right now, for instance, whatever, I'll just do, the order shouldn't go through, but I'll press Shift 1. Cannot place any long order. All right. So I press Shift 1, it doesn't matter how much I press it. I can't take any trades in this account. It's locked. All right. But the thing is, when I log in each morning, I log in by default to the Ross CA account. That's my main account. So then I have to switch over to, I have to tab this over to the retirement account, which is fine. The only problem is this morning, I forgot to do that. And this is the second time that I've forgotten to do that. Sometimes we're 10 seconds from the bell. I'm still on Ross CA. I've got MYO up. I'm watching it 31.54. And it just sometimes is a case that I just absentmindedly forget to tab over. All right, so I type in the order for 1,000 shares. I'm gonna bump the order up to $31. All right, here's the bell, watching. And there, I saw green. And I start pressing the buy button. Do I fill? Of course not. My orders get rejected. As soon as I saw that green, I started pressing the buy button. I'm not the only one that saw that. There's 31.80. There's 30. There's 33. Holy smokes. I ended up getting in at 33.50 as it was squeezing up here. So here I'm like, son of a gun. You got to be kidding me. So I was like, that's all right. Calm, cool. So I was like, okay, well, I do want to trade this for the break over $35, which was yesterday's high. That's still the spot that I'm watching. From 35, we've got room on the daily up to $39.90. This is a resistance level. This is what we break down in chapter 4 of the day trade course. So $39.90 and then $45 above that. All right, so I end up jumping in here. Well, I guess I wait for a little pullback or something. Gosh, where do I even get in? So now I'm feeling, I guess, a lot of frustration because think about that, guys. With 3,000 shares, I mean, on the bid at 33, I'd be up almost 9 grand. I missed the whole trade. So this is the way it goes sometimes. So then I let it dip down here, and on this dip, this is where I jumped in. So right now it's doing a little micro pullback. I'm letting it pull back for a second. It dips down there. So I'm watching on the 10-second chart as it's dipping. It's got to hold the low. It certainly can't go red, but it's holding that level. So I check, I put my mouse over to see what that price is. And as I see volume coming back in here, green, I'm looking for the first candle to make a new high. Hands on the buy button, ready to go. I'm a little nervous because I'm also like, you kind of screwed this up, but let's just make sure we trade smart here. This is now showing well-defined resistance at 50. So boom, I punched the order. I punch it again there. And now I'm in right here looking for this to break through the high. Now we're gonna get this squeeze up to 35, 37. Look at that. Look at how fast that is. So I take profit as it's squeezing up. I throw orders on the ask. Now we're at 37.30. I'm trying to sell, but I'm also, you know, I in this moment, I was kind of like, I'm going to just try to salvage the trade and make as much as I can, given the fact that I really screwed it up from earlier. So now I'm just going to watch for a second. And we end up on this stock getting a high of close to $40. I know I add back at some place. Look at that. Oh my God, $39.54. Open P&L right now is $9,296. So my chart is now not really perfectly adjusted. All right, so now we've got 40 right here. Took a little profit. So now I'm still holding 1,000 shares, but my average is 35.26. Now, meanwhile, PBYI is surging up. This is one that we also kind of had on watch. SNES I had on watch, but the volume was really light. Now we're up 200%, 860,000 shares of volume. At this moment, my heart was pounding because this was like a really intense trade. I botched it from the beginning. I screwed it up. Then I'm back in. Well, I'm in for real, but I'm in higher than I initially wanted. The risk is high. This is a 3,000 share position on a $35 stock. I've got $100,000 in this trade. So I'm feeling that pressure, and I'm like, it's one of those times where I'm kind of tunnel vision, and this is where I need my muscle memory in order just to press the hotkeys, press the buttons the right way, because it's so easy to be a deer in the headlights. And to try to do all of this while at the same time articulating out loud to you guys what I'm doing, these are the moments where it can be difficult. And I do the best I can, but it's not easy. And the reality is, day trading is not easy. This is something that takes a really long time to get good at. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of discipline, and a lot of drive. At the end of the road, for those that get through that learning curve, the rewards can be pretty incredible. $12,500 right here is obviously amazing. This is a really solid breakout pattern. I should have made more on it than I did, but I'll take what I got. So let's see. So then I take a trade up here looking for the break over 40. I don't end up getting filled, and I end up stopping out right here with $10,000 of profit. All right, so now it drops down. So see, this is where we have this drop. All right, so the stock all of a sudden has just dropped from almost $40 to $29. I looked at that and I was like, that's a ridiculous drop. This thing is gonna bounce back up. That's too much of a drop. And so right here, I saw it, and so first my order was rejected. It was rejected because $38.73 is way too high. It's more than 10% above the current price. So I had to get into that using my hotkey. I got in using my hotkey, 2906. And I was looking for it to bounce back up through the VWAP. We did get the bounce back up for a moment. It was a little moment of truth, whether or not it's gonna work. I was a little nervous on it, but it ended up working. We got a rip up. I take a little profit off the table. As it's squeezing up, I took off profit a little too soon. But look at that spread right there. That's a $2.50 spread. So, you know, selling a little into the ask and, you know, locking up some gains on it. So I ended up having another trade on it, but that was the sort of first, what is this, 5 minutes of the day. So some pretty wild price action on MYO, as you can see right here. Unfortunately, it did not come back up to the high of $40. So my ads that were up there near the highs ended up being, well, they were too high. But nice bounce off the low here, so we got that. And for what it's worth, you know, that was in part inspired by this drop that we had yesterday on Tesla, and again this morning. So just this drop, bounce, drop, big volatility, big whips. So when the market starts to get really kind of irrational, often when you get those strong drops, you get a bounce off the low. So anyways, Tesla I traded yesterday. I didn't trade today. I did have the options chain up on it. I was looking at doing a trade there, but I didn't end up taking it. So anyways, that was Tesla. So MYO, $16,000. I kept watching it for a while, wondering if maybe it would break through the VWAP. Through here, I had a trade right in this area here. First 5-minute candle to make a new high. I didn't end up making much on that. And then it broke down here. I was still watching it until it broke down right here. And at this point, you know, I'm interested, but it's got to get back up, obviously above the volume weighted average price. So that may be it for that stock. Okay, so then at that point, I was willing to watch pretty much anything that hit the high day momentum scanner that looked similar, because what I expected from this move yesterday, from a low of 7 to a high today of 40, was possible sympathy momentum on similar stocks, similar setups. So what was this stock setup? It was a recent reverse split with news and lots of room to the 200 moving average. It was a bottom bounce setup, a stock that had been beaten up for a while. POAI was actually on our scanner a couple days ago. I think it was on this day right here, or maybe this day. It's a reverse split from like a couple months ago. And it first pops up and hits the scanner. Let's see, it was, what time was this? Oh, that's yesterday. I guess go way forward. Let's see, sorry about that. I still have yesterday's scans up. Okay, so MYO, yep. CEI, MYO. So it's gonna hit the scan, I think in the 2-somethings, 290s maybe, 297, $3. All right, so it hits the scanner, it starts popping up, and the stock rips from 3 all the way to $4, and then gets halted on a circuit breaker. All right, so I jumped in as it was squeezing up. As I saw it hitting the scanner, I pull it up, I saw, we've got a headline right here. So with that headline, I was like, okay, we've got news. It's a recent reverse split with news. It's moving up fast. I'm going to jump on it. The relative volume, very high, even when it first hit at 297. So I jumped in it. It's squeezing up 304, 320, 328, 340, 350, 356, 370, 380, 390, halting at $4. It resumes and hits a high of 530. I made $9,960 on that stock. Really, really nice. However, I will say that this was a little surprising, and I'll go into a tighter time frame here. Right here, it flashed down. And I actually added right here for the break over 5. Break over 5 hits a high of 516, 515. I actually added at 525. And in the next candle, I added 2,000 shares. It drops down to 420. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to panic and hit the bid. I was considering buying, but I was like, no, let's just leave it for a second. It bounces in that next candle back up to 480. And so I ended up getting out with like a $500 loss or whatever. It then consolidates sideways. It comes back up to 5. I tried to get back in. I stopped out a second time. And then I had my final trade on it. Where was my last trade? My last trade was right here as it was breaking what I thought was this resistance at 479, looking for the move back up to 5. But it was kind of a heavy, it seemed sort of heavy once it got up into this $5 area. So a lot of sellers. MYO coming back up to the VWAP, I see that. Again, the only place I would really be a buyer, probably, it's tough because as it turns out, the first 5-minute candle ended up being a red shooting star, which is not a very strong 5-minute candle. So I would need to see it back over the VWAP. I would need to probably see it back closer to 32, 35. And, you know, if it got back up to 35, then I'd be like, okay, this looks like has a shot at high a day, but I don't know. So, you know, despite a little bit of a fumble at the open, I'm still walking away in pretty good shape. I've got to be better about remembering to switch into my IRA account. You know, the nice thing with trading in the IRA, of course, is that these gains are, they're tax-free. It's a retirement account, so there's no income tax on it. I set up this account with $6,000 in 2018. From my $583 to $1 million small account challenge, I took out $6,000 from that and put it into a retirement account as a 2018 contribution. And so I started with, I think, $5,500 and then added for the next year contribution. So I made 3 contributions totaling, I believe, about $18,000. And from there, I've been growing this account, and the growth is no income tax on it. So that's nice. And that's one of the advantages of focusing on that account. The other problem that I was having with trying to trade into accounts was just getting sloppy and mismanaging risk and making mistakes. So, and then the last couple trades on YTEN, that one hit the scanners. I jumped into it I tried to take 2,000 shares. I got a partial fill, made 24 bucks basically as a break-even trade. And then WAFU is the only one I'm red on. And I actually jumped in it. It was doing this little pullback right here, and I bought it right like here as I thought it was forming this 1-minute setup to break over 21. And I stopped out down here for $831 loss, only to see it come back up here, you know, 10, 15 minutes later. But that's fine. I cut that loss pretty quickly, so I'm not too worried about that. So in fact, the biggest loss of the day was on MYO, and that was from when I was up about 12,000 and then gave back 2,000 as it dropped. But I kept trading at that point because I still thought that there was some good opportunity. It was still really early in the day. And then I ended up, you know, having this final loss on WAFU and feeling like it was not worth continuing to trade. So at this point, I'm going to throw in the towel. 25,000 today, 12,000 on Tuesday. So that's 37,000 on the week, plus 1,000 on Monday. It's $38,000 on the week. The IRA contribution limits, there's a couple different limits. There's a limit, well, I think it's 6,000 for this year. You could look it up and Google it, but I'll just do it here. IRA contribution limit 2019. I believe you can still do a 2019 contribution up until April 15th. So it's $6,000 if you're under the age of 50, and then you can do, I think, a little bit more if you're between 50 and 59. Now, the disadvantage, obviously, is that I can't take out any of the profit here without incurring a 10% penalty and having to pay income tax on it. So paying income tax plus the 10% penalty, you know, that's not great. Although if I really wanted to take the money out, I could. You know, you just have to accept that that's a penalty. So, you know, if you need to take out 50,000, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to pay, you know, X percent income tax plus another 5,000 on the 10% penalty. You know, if you need it, you can do it. It's just that's the deal. So right now, I'm focusing on growing this account, building it back up after the kind of long red streak that I had from December going into January. And I'm feeling good to have a couple of really nice big green days. It's actually going to put the account close to its all-time highs. I'll have to log in and see exactly where it is after today, but in any case, it's in good shape. Now, the traditional IRA is tax-free growth, but then when you take the money out, you pay income tax on the withdrawal, even when you're in your 60s. A Roth IRA, you put the money in post-tax, and then when you take it out, when you're 59, 60 years old, it's also tax-free when it comes out. However, there's income limits to contributing directly to a Roth IRA. So I make too much money to contribute directly to a Roth IRA. So what a lot of people in my situation will do is they'll make a traditional IRA contribution, and then you do a Roth IRA conversion. You convert it to a Roth IRA, you pay your income tax on it, and then it becomes a Roth. So it's kind of I have a video specifically on that, but anyway, so that's about it for today. Solid green day. I was kind of getting to a point where I was like, I'm only $15,000 away from having a record day. $40,000 is my biggest green day ever. And my only maybe disappointment is that I didn't trade SNES. This one I had on my level 2. You saw it right at the open. I had it up. I knew it was a reverse split. I knew that it was interesting. However, there was no news until 9:38. Not that this is maybe the best news headline I've ever seen, but the news came out at 9:38. So there wasn't a headline before the bell. So at 9:38, there's this headline, whatever, and all of a sudden there it pops up to 7:17. It gets halted. It then resumes, squeezes up to 7:71, up to 8:20, and is halted a second time. It resumes, it squeezes up to 9:57, is halted a third time. Resumes, squeezes up to 10:53, it's halted a fourth time. Resumes, squeezes up to a high of 11:15 for a fifth halt in a row. All of that on only about 100,000 shares of volume. So I missed the first one, partially probably just didn't have a lot of volume, so I wasn't looking at it super seriously. I was waiting for more volume to come in, and then all of a sudden it just takes off. Felt like I couldn't jump in, didn't want to chase it. On the drop here, I did consider doing a buy off the low, but I didn't because I felt like it dropped a little too much. So I missed that one. If I had jumped on it, maybe this would have been a record green day. Of course, if MYO had broken over 40 and ripped to 50, that would have done it for sure. And if my order had gotten filled right at the open at $30.25, that would have added an extra 6 or 7 grand probably, but it's fine. This is a green day. I'm happy with it. And MYO, again, the spot that I would be interested in, if it does halt going up, then I would start to get like, okay, this is opening up. This is something I should be seriously looking at. We haven't had any halts since 10:15. It's now almost noontime, so I'm not really expecting that this is going to do a big breakout, only because the open was this high red volume bar. It had a pretty strong sell-off, and it doesn't have fresh news today. Having said that, stocks can be irrational, and if they want to be really strong, I'd like to try to capitalize on that and ride that momentum, but I'm not sure that I'll be able to do that on MYO. So I'll keep half an eye on it, but I'll probably be done trading for today and then be back at it tomorrow. And, we'll see what the market wants to give us. Maybe another couple days of hot momentum, and I'll be able to make up for some of the mistakes I made in January and get myself into a really solid place on the year. All right, so that's my game plan right now. I hope you guys have a good afternoon for those of you guys that keep trading, and I will see you all first thing tomorrow morning. I'll stay in the chat room here to keep an eye on MYO, but we'll call it a good day on the recap. Hey, have you seen my most popular video on YouTube? It's got over 5 million views. You can check it out right here, and check out one of my other videos on YouTube right here. I hope you guys enjoy, and as always, if you have questions, leave them down below in the comments section. I personally respond to every comment that's posted.